Just finishing this field off, and then we'll be ready to start seeding our next round of crops. Hello again, I am Jim Bob, and welcome back to Deutz Fahrm. There we go, that's all the rest of the fields finally cultivated. So now we're going to get on to planting. Now we're going to be doing a lot of corn, because obviously we're going to need it for our pigs. We're also going to do some sunflower, because I want to have something that we can sell. We need to raise a bit of extra cash. So let's get this dropped off. There we go, it's not too much dirt on it. I actually cleaned it before I realised I hadn't actually done that field since I'd reploughed it. So there's our seeder. And I don't know if I've got enough horsepower actually on this tractor to run that. Let me double check. It's been a while since I've used this seeder. Let's have a look. Oh, all these different versions. What do we need? Only 100 horsepower. Yeah, we've got plenty. That'll be fine. Wasn't sure if I needed to switch out to the semi-fortis. Now this is a multi-purpose seeder, so this will allow us to plant corn and sunflower as well as our regular grains, but we are a little low, so let's just top up our seed level. Might need to lower it down if I can. Oh no, I can't. Can I get in? No. There we go. There we go. That's better. Alright. So, we'll start with sunflowers. So, let's see. No, let's do it on this map. It's easier, we can zoom in on this. So these are our fields, and I'm thinking that we do this side here in corn. That'll give us 4 fields worth. That'll give us a nice, good yield, and a nice little stockpile for our pigs. And pretty much all of that corn, I think, is going to be saved. And then that gives us these 3 fields here to actually plant our sunflowers on. So we'll get the sunflowers started first. So we're going to head back over the river. I keep calling it a river, it's actually a stream. It's too small to be a river. I mean, look at it, it's just like a tiny, tiny little bit of water. It's like ankle deep. It's not a river at all. Don't know why I keep calling it that. Right, so gonna have to do a headland on this field at both ends, simply because of the size of this field. It's really quite cumbersome and awkward. And there we go. That's the base layer. We'll do one at the top as well, and then we'll be able to run up and down. It's getting quite dark actually with those shadows. Can't see the soil properly. There we go. Those lights definitely help. And if you remember, I did try using those ridge markers last time out, and they weren't very effective. And I don't know if it's just the way the ground is on this map, or if it's the seeder itself, but for some reason they just didn't seem to do very well at creating ridges. And it's not something that is unique to this seeder. I have noticed that problem on other seeders that also use ridge markers as well, and not just mods but official in-game ones as well. So I do wonder if it's maybe something like some kind of maybe a mod conflict perhaps, or just, you know, the ground response perhaps isn't letting the ridge markers work in exactly the right way, because the ground isn't perfectly flat or level. You know, it's not a level surface with ground response. So your vehicle is always bumping and jostling as it goes over the ground, whereas without ground response, it's just like driving on a road. you know, it's a flat surface. It may have a hill and a slope and an angle, but it's still essentially a flat surface. Ground response obviously removes that flatness, adds a bit of depth and unevenness to the ground when you're on a field. And maybe that's what's causing those ridge markers to not work properly. Like I said, it's not just mod seeders that I've had that issue with. I've had it with an official in-game seeder or two as well. I think I missed a patch there, didn't I? Yeah, just a thin strip. There we go. Just tidy that up. Alright, that's one field done. This is going to be really quick, actually. Thanks to having this 6 metre working width. Did I miss a strip just there? No, it's just a dark line in the texture. So we'll get this field done next. We'll start at the... Is this thing down? No, it's up. And yet it's drawing as though it was... It's the weight of it, look, it's pulling down, even though it's raised. It's so heavy on this little tractor here that it's acting as though it's up. Okay, so I'm going to have to remember that for the future. Instead of just raising, I'm going to have to make sure I turn off as well, so that I don't accidentally seed on a different field when I'm turning around. That will just use the Fortis. We didn't have this issue last time out because we used the Fortis, which is a bit bigger, a little bit heavier, and was able to support the weight of this seeder a little bit better. But this, you know, little aggro start is a little bit smaller, so it does have a tendency to, well, you can see, you know, that it is pushing down the back wheels. There we go. We're up to about 4,000, which isn't too bad. You know, it would have been a little bit higher, but I did use a worker, you know, while we were cultivating, so we used up a little bit more than we probably would have done normally. Well, we wouldn't have used anything at all, really, if we were doing it ourselves. But hopefully that'll be at least enough to cover a bale wrapper. Did I buy a bale wrapper? No, I think I was toying with the idea of buying one, because I remember using the Ursus bale wrapper last time, and I can't remember if I bought one or not. I think I just leased it. I'm pretty sure I leased it. I just have this memory of sticking it in the shed, where the baler and the bale collector are stored. I think I was just putting it in there just to try it out and see whether it would fit along with the other gear that was in there while I had one leased. I don't think you guys will have seen that. I think I did that off camera. Yeah, we definitely need to consider investing in a bale wrapper. It will help going forward, but you know, a field at the moment is more important than buying another piece of equipment. We have pretty much all of the gear that we need going forward. It's been suggested to me as well that I use the slurry. You know, obviously I was looking at potentially just selling some slurry and some manure last time out. It's been suggested to me that I use that to fertilise. I mean, obviously the default starting equipment for this map does give you a manure spreader, and I think it gives you a slurry spreader as well. It gives you the small Cotter Garant one, but we got rid of those as part of setting up this farm to get the equipment in that we did, so that's not an option for us at the moment. We have neither a slurry spreader nor a manure spreader, and again it would be kind of the same thing. It would be buying equipment that we just don't need at the moment. I mean, our fertilizer costs aren't massive. So it's not like it's going to cost us an absolute fortune to fertilise these fields. I mean, you can see how quickly I'm actually working through these fields. with our seeder here. Thanks to this 6 meter working width. Really nice and quick. And there we go, it's another field done. Again, turned off the seeder. This is going to be the third and final field that we'll be doing our sunflowers on. And then everything from this point on is going to be corn for our pigs. There we go. I don't know, maybe as far as, using slurry on the fields, it's something we could look at. I don't think a slurry spreader is going to cost us that much, actually. I think, the small ones are reasonably cheap, so we could probably afford one of those reasonably soon. But the money that we have right now, we need that for a bale wrapper. We need that to lease one of those. We certainly aren't going to have the money to buy a bale wrapper until after we've wrapped the bales. And it's kind of a chicken before the egg thing. We need the egg first to get the chicken. But once we've done this field, we'll obviously have to probably top our tanks up a little bit. I'll take a look at pricing of equipment, and we can kind of figure out just how much we're going to need and see what it is we're going to need to do. We've got a lot of mowing we're going to have to get done again to make those bales. Obviously we need to make some more TMR for our cows. They are very, very low. And we are kind of relying on their dairy income at the moment. Once that runs out, their productivity is going to drop quite dramatically. Although we are running their food trough down. I remember now, we're going to run their food trough down because if you remember, when we tried to make the first batch of TMR, I messed up the ratio. I didn't realise, I was just on autopilot. I didn't realise that the round bale mixer that we're using does actually require one of each bale. One of hay, one of straw, and one of silage. So I dumped in 2 bales of hay, I think it was, and 1 bale of silage. And then that was it. It didn't mix. It didn't turn into TMR. And instead, we ended up with a 12,000 litres of separate products, effectively. 8,000 of one and 4,000 of the other that went into our food trough first before we then mixed up some TMR. So while our power food bar is almost empty, the other bar is still nearly full. So we're going to lose a little bit of productivity. We're probably going to lose, I think, 20% productivity. But we need to kind of run that other food trough down, because while it's like that, it's going to impact, I think, how much TMR we can actually put in our trough. We need to kind of get that gone so that we can just fill it with nothing but TMR, and then our cows will be fed with more of the good stuff for a longer period. Because the cows will always eat their best available food stuff, so they've eaten pretty much all the TMR, and that's all they've eaten. And now that that's almost gone, now they're going to start working their way through the hay and silage. But if we were to fill it with TMR, that hay and silage would just sit there in the trough completely untouched again until the TMR is gone, and then they would start on it. So the only way we can get that down is to just let them run out TMR and eat that existing amount of hay and silage that's in the trough. And then when that's gone, as I say, from that point then we can really fill with a lot of extra TMR. So it gives us a little bit of time to kind of play about and get our grass cut and tedded and wrapped, and make our hay bales and our silage bales. And we're absolutely fine on straw bales. We have, as you've already seen, a massive amount of straw. So let's top this up very quickly. There we go. While that's doing that, let's have a look at the equipment pricing. So slurry tanks. Yeah, I think this is the one here, this Garant Cotter VE8000. I think that's the one that we start with when we first load up Altenstein. Obviously, I got rid of mine. So that's what, 12,000 euros. That's not too expensive. Let's see if we've got any cheaper mods though. We've got the high spec ones. 16.5. It's a bigger fuel tank, or bigger, capacity tank. But it's a little bit, I think, still a little bit bigger. I'm not sure if that's going to be suitable. We've got this small Horsch one here, but that's way too big. So that's it for slurry spreaders that I've got installed. And obviously, this and the injector are modular attachments to go onto the back of this slurry tender. So, yeah, that's not going to work. So I think that's going to be our best bet, is this one here. 8,000 litre tank. Doesn't need much horsepower as well. It's not too big. That's the one we're going to have to go for. But we're a way off. And our money's just going to keep going down for a little while we keep topping up seed and fertilizer. In terms of manure, this is the manure spreader that we started with, the Superfex. That's 11,000 euros, 8,000 litre capacity again. We do have a selection of small ones to choose from. We've got the Abbey, we've got the Gyrax, and got the Major Muckout as well. Size-wise, the Major is probably the best bet. It's only got a small tank, 5,750 litres, but this is, again, not really the right brand, I think, for this farm. I think the Gyrax is probably going to be the right one. It's a little bit bigger, 15,000 litres. It's quite a big size. It needs 130 horsepower, so it's a little bit bigger than this one in terms of overall size. It's certainly double the capacity and double the horsepower requirements, but I think that's going to be the best option. It's also double the price as well, so it's not cheap. That's kind of what we'll work towards, I think. So we're way off getting one of those. Let's raise the seeder back up. And let's go plant our corn. Let's change the seed to corn. There we go. Close the lid again. Should probably really be using the Fortis for this. I'll do that next time. There again, you can see just how much the nose is raised up there. A lot of weight on the rear of this tractor here. Get our corn done. Once we have this as well, with everything else that we have already in stock, this should give us a really good stockpile of our crops for our pigs. We could just let them breed and be able to feed them for quite a long time. I wonder how many pigs we're up to now. We'll have to check that in a moment. I think we're up to like 17 cows now. Or close to 17 if we're not quite there. We've definitely been improving our numbers. We'll check those in a moment as well. And we started with 10 pigs. We've definitely got a lot more than that. I think we're probably into the 20s with our pigs now, or again, getting pretty close. They have been breeding quite nicely. Alright, there we go, that's our border done. Still a little bit of a collision issue, so I think we'll probably have to do a bit more of a headland at this end. And it's because of the tank on the front, the fertilizer tank. It sticks out, it gives us that extended nose, which does mean our turning range, while not affecting our radius, it does mean obviously we end up not having as much space to turn, simply because of the big blue nose that we have on the front. It's more likely to hit into a fence or an obstacle. See some little thin patches where the field isn't quite fertilised. Shouldn't be an issue. I mean, this seeder should be fertilising as it goes, so maybe it's not a fertiliser issue, maybe it's something else. Or maybe it's me raising the thing a little bit too quickly. See, those little swatches there, they do look as though they're not actually fertilised. Let me go over them again. There we go. Shouldn't plant anything different. It just looks like there's no fertiliser on those patches there. Because this isn't, you know, there's already seed there, it's not going to just dump fertiliser and nothing else. The fertiliser goes in at the same time with the seed. Can't go in over the top afterwards. A little bit awkward. There we go. Making very quick work of this field as well. And there, look, see again, look, we've got that line there. It just looks like there's no fertiliser applied to that strip. In fact, let me check. We'll be able to see, maybe. I can't see anything there. It just looks really weird like that, to see that thin strip like that. I'm unfolding that. Damn it. Stay off the field. There we go. Right, before I forget, let's check those animal numbers. Oh wow, 32 pigs. That's a lot more pigs than I thought. And bang on there with the cows, look, 17 cows. Need to tidy up after them. And you can see there is our desperate need for that corn. We're able to kind of stretch that corn out a little bit, because anything that comes out of the food trough as waste comes out as corn for the pigs. You know, for our pigs it's corn, for sheep and cows it comes out as grass. But for our pigs it is corn, because that's like 50% of their base food. So it's kind of handy in some respects that, you know, we can always kind of just keep a little bit of corn just popping back into the food trough every time we tidy up after them. I really do wish I could get rid of the weeds on this field. Just these two fields are crying out to be joined together. It's kind of criminal in a way that we can't without having a line of weeds running through the middle of it. I mean, they're so damn close to each other. It's literally just a thin line of weeds that separates them. That's pretty much it. And I get the need for maybe like a distinction or a separation of fields. But it does seem a little bit strange, the way that some of those weeds are laid out. Separating certain fields but not others. It does seem to be done in quite an odd way in places. And as I say, it's a bit of a disappointment in where some of those weeds are placed. I mean, here on these edges, I absolutely understand that, and that's perfectly normal and natural there for those placements. But here, I mean, look, I mean, it's just a thin one line of weeds, and then we've got, you know, just a step of grass, and then boom, we're onto the next field. And there's no reason why we we shouldn't be able to actually join those two fields together without those weeds being there. It's a little frustrating, because we don't have those weeds at the bottom of the field. You know, so we can go onto a field that overlaps at a weird shape and angle to this one. So you can see there's nothing here at the bottom of this field separating out, you know, these two fields. And technically this isn't even a field, it's a grass field. And then that runs all the way along there, but there's no separation between those. And yet there is between these two. It just, like I said, it would have made more sense to me to see that separation the other way around. So that's a bit weird. I've decided we're going to rip up that field there behind us. You know, it's one of those free grass field type things that's knocking around the farm. I mean, obviously we had one past field 2, which had that, you know, little bit of wheat interspersed with the grass that was on it. This one at the bottom here has spuds interspersed with the grass, and we ripped the last one up, and we're going to do the same with this one. We're going to rip it up and turn it into an actual working field, because I don't think we're going to do spuds anytime soon on this map. I mean, we may well get into spuds in the future, but we have no need for them right now. I mean, it's such a small amount of spuds there that there's no point leasing and a piece of equipment just to do that one little field. And yeah, there's spuds on that field, but that's an actual purchasable field owned by another farmer, so we can't use that. You know, we can't use that ourselves. Whereas the one at the bottom there, we can, because that's just a neutral piece of land. It's not actually allocated as a field. I'm taking a bit of a windy way around here. And a wire cut through the farmyard. Should have just stayed along the bottom road here. Oh, it's really bouncing us around. I was toying with the idea of actually making this a field as well, but you know, I like that as grass. You know, we do need to have a decent supply of grass, you know, so that we can make our bales and take care of our animals, and so as a result, you know, that's kind of stay as it is. Plus, it's a really weird shape in places. It would make it quite awkward to turn into a field. You know, there would be certain parts that we couldn't, and we'd either have to roll it away completely and just have, you know, dead ground with nothing on it at all, which would look a little bit weird, or we'd have to leave it as grass, and then just every time a seeder got close to it, that we'd run the risk of planting into it. There we go. Making really good time with our planting this time out. Last time out, I think it took us 2 episodes. Ooh, there you go. You can see we just nicked that there. I don't know if that's planted or not. I think that's just cultivated. But yeah, we just nicked the edge of that grass field there. I think I did that with the cultivator rather than with the seeder. Yeah, last time our seeding took us a couple of episodes, although last time I think we were trying to play about with the ridge markers, which didn't help. That slowed the process down a bit. Plus I was doing the seeding I think in some of it in first person as well, which meant it took a bit more time to get done. This time out I'm just doing the whole thing in third person so we can try and get it all into a single episode. Looks like we might have missed a strip. Yeah, we have. We've missed a thin strip just there. Have to touch that up on the way back down again. Right, next question. Have we got enough seed left in our tank to actually get the next field done? I think we could probably just about manage it. Make our way through. There we go. And again, I'm going to do a border around this field simply because I don't want the tractor going over the edge of the ridge at the top here. Plus, it's a little bit awkward on the other side with the path. It gets quite rough and bumpy in a couple of places along there. So I like to try and get the difficult areas done first, and then work inside. You can see it's quite rough and ridged around there, and then I'll do the same along the bottom again. Just put in a small headland around here. I'm going to do this at a bit more of an angle. There we go. Try and keep that semblance of straightness along the bottom there. Just watching the seed counter. I think I'm pretty sure we've got enough left. Still getting used to the noises in the new place. It's kind of weird. I mean, my fridge is a little bit noisier here than my last place, and it makes a strange kind of noise, usually in the early hours of the morning, as I hear the compressor working away to keep everything chilled. I'll hear it just come on, and I'll hear it start to make this strange noise. I don't really notice it during the day because there's other background noises during the day that it's just generally a little bit noisier during the day in terms of overall noise levels, so you don't always hear things. But at night, when it's quieter, I tend to hear this stranger noise, and getting used to that. And my heating has this kind of weird squeaky kind of noise as well every now and again, going through the pipes. It's almost it's almost as if my radiator sounds like it's farting. It seems like a strange thing to say, but it's just that kind of a sort of that weird sort of noise. It's just, it doesn't happen very often, but It's just, again, it's a new noise that I'm not used to. So when I hear it, it stands out, and I'll tune it out over time. I'll acclimatise and customise myself to it, but at the moment, because it's still a relatively new noise, I do hear it, yeah, every time it does it, and it's just a little bit weird, a little bit strange to just be there and just suddenly hear my radiator make this kind of fart noise. It's just very strange indeed. And I say that because, you know, my radiator did fart about 5 minutes ago, and my fridge came on, you know, and started whirring away about the same kind of time as well, which just prompted, you know, that memory. Right, there we go. Our seeding is done, and we just about made it. Look at that, 13 litres of seed left. But we did manage it all, so... oh, we missed a field. We missed field 22, haven't we? That one up there. Alright, let's see. Let's check our grain levels in the silo. I just want to make sure I've got everything. Yeah, see, around barley and wheat... we need to plant some of that, just so that we've got something. I didn't even think about checking that level. So we'll do that on field 22. We'll plant some barley and some wheat on there. And what we've also got is that grass field up there as well. I'm actually going to convert that into a crop field as well. So I'm going to be clever to save a little bit of time. I'm going to plough and cultivate those two fields at the same time. You know, obviously the Lemken setup that we have is quite handy in the sense that, you know, the cultivator can be fitted as a front or back attacher, so you can mount it as a front mounted device if you want to, but the plough that we have also has the ability to attach to other devices as well. So let's just, no, there we go, detach our trailer. We need to drop off, if I can actually see where I am, there we go, drop off our bale spikes. And our front loader arms. There we go. So, spin around. I'm using the Fortis because it is the more powerful. In fact, I might need to upgrade this actually. It's too expensive. I'd love to be able to improve the engine, but I don't have another 10,000, nor the ability to just loan another 10,000 either. Unfortunately, we're completely maxed on our loan, but we can do this. It's going to be a little bit slow because we don't have quite enough horsepower really to do this properly. Now, normally we can cultivate at 10 miles an hour, and the Lemken seeder, or the Lemken plough allows us to plough at 6 miles an hour. So we're probably only going to get maybe 4 miles an hour, I think, out of this. But let's convert this field here. In fact, I need to. That's a workable grass field next to it as well, isn't it? I think. It looks like it might be. Yeah, you see, look, all down here, this is showing us ground that can be worked as well. So we've got a bit of a grass field here, and that then kind of loops around there as well. That's very odd. And again, we've got those weeds, look. You see, you've got a grass field that goes around the edges of this thin strip here, and then you've got weeds and a fence there, And then weeds and a fence there down half the field. Why? Why not just allow us to actually turn all of that into one big field? It's just, it makes more sense, but I don't know. It baffles me. It really does. So, alright, let's start down here instead. Try and be careful so that I don't attack the other field, the grass field. We're getting 6, but we're going down a hill, so it's not a completely accurate reading. We might actually get away with this at this speed. Make my way back up. Interestingly, the cultivator actually works in reverse, whereas the plough doesn't. Or at least this cultivator anyway. So I'm just going to do a second pass down here, simply because I want to create a nice little turning area at the bottom. And this is ploughing the field for us and cultivating at the same time. So this is basically, it's almost like a subsoiler, having it set up like this. It's very handy. And now I can plonk it down and work end to end without the fear of ripping up that bit of grass just back there. Although I may possibly do that anyway. I'll see what this field looks like once it's done in terms of size and shape, because I don't actually know exactly how much land I've got to work with here. Kind of just ignored this bit of land down here. And now you can see, look, now that we're not going downhill, you can kind of see our working speed is a little bit lower, sort of fluctuating between 4 and 5, and for a moment we had lower than that. I mean, obviously the hill doesn't help. We are getting 6 on relatively smooth ground. I'm actually quite impressed with that. I didn't think we would get 6 miles an hour out of this. Thought we'd have to boost the engine to be able to do that. Well, that's actually quite good. I'm quite pleased by that. That saves me a bit of cash, because it means I don't need to improve the engine. I can just continue to do this. I genuinely thought this would be a little bit too slow to do for all of our fields, but I think next time I need to plough, I might just do this rather than running the plough on one and the cultivator on the other. I think I might just use this setup on one tractor. It seems to be doing the job pretty well, and yeah, if it works, why not take advantage of it? So with this field down here, I'm trying to think what to plant on this one, because the grass field that we've got at the top by field 22, I'm going to put wheat on that as well. So we'll have a little wheat area at the top, and that'll give us, you know, pig product. I could put more corn on this field here. Could possibly even put sunflowers on here, boost our sunflower crop, or I could put even more wheat, or maybe even switch it up and put some barley on here. Could possibly do barley instead. That might be a little bit better actually, doing some barley. Give us a little bit of variety, although if we go with wheat, that would in some ways make more sense, because it would give us a larger volume of an actual crop, and therefore we could possibly sell some of it off. I don't know. I think we just need to not sell the wheat at all and just store it for the pigs. We can make some money off the straw. That we can do once it's ready for they're ready for harvesting, we can obviously swath the straw and bale that and then sell the bales. We don't need any more straw bales, so we can sell those straw bales, get a bit of extra cash that way. Just not sure what to plant on this field here. I'll have to think about it. You see me running to the edge there, so because, you know, with the plough, if I pull it out a little bit too soon, it does leave furrows in the ground. So it just looks a little bit neater. There we go. I should have done this earlier, really, right from the start, if I'd thought about it. But, you know, we were contemplating maybe looking, you know, at getting some spud equipment and working this, and then just keeping this until we had, you know, a few different fields of spuds to plant. But it's going to be a long way before we're anywhere near financially ready for spuds. It's not a cheap crop to start, because it needs its own dedicated planter, it needs its own dedicated topper, its own dedicated harvester, and unless you have a lot of fields, you know, it's not worth leasing the equipment for such a small thing to harvest. So yeah, you may as well just take advantage of this little bit of land that we have available to us that's completely free, and create an actual crop field out of it. Hell, I'm even tempted to just plough the spot of land between this and our cornfield and actually link them up. There we see what I mean about leaving those furrows showing if I pull the if I don't go all the way to the edge. I mean, I suppose I could just have that thin strip there, or I could... Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to hire a worker. I'm going to get him to cultivate this and plough this piece of land here. Just get him on the field. It doesn't want to work. Why doesn't he want to work? Doesn't want to do it, look. That's weird. Alright, I'll have to manually do this. I was hoping I could get a worker to do this for me. I've got to be careful I don't rip up too many of these sort of patches of land that, you know, were grass fields, but I don't think we did anything with this one last time out, so it's available. I might have mowed it. Did I mow it? No, I didn't, because it's red. If I'd mowed it, it would be blue. Alright, will the worker take over now? Yes, there we go. So, so yeah, I might just leave it with that thin strip like that, separating out kind of the two parts of the field there, but then link it here at the bottom into the bit that we've just created, and then link it just there as well, and basically just have that strip of grass running up the middle with the weeds on, because I don't want to have weeds actually growing up in the field. It might look a bit strange. And look, see, the worker's already just automatically assuming that that's connected anyway, because it's such a short gap. He's already just going straight across, so it makes sense to just cultivate that. Let me do the same over here. the edge of the field is. Kind of there underneath the bush, isn't it? Right, let's allow create fields. Okay, let's raise that up. Lower it down. I'm just going to drive this all the way along here. So this is going to become corn then, essentially. And we'll link it into the field that we've just ploughed. So we're probably going to rip part of that seed up that we've already planted, but it can't be helped. That bit of grass there, I'm not going to touch. I'll leave that as grass. But I am going to have to kind of just ever so carefully just rip up a little bit of this field. There we go. We'll replant that. In fact, I'm umming and ahhing. Do I actually just go down that strip of weeds and have the weeds just poking through? I don't know. Kind of like it with the grass underneath the weeds. Rather than just having weeds poking through in the middle of the field. I don't know. Alright, well, we're pretty much out of time. I'm going to carry on working away on this field. Well, I'll get my worker to carry on working away on this field while I take a breather. When you come back, I'll have seeded this field with corn to match the one that's right next to it, field 8. I'll have also planted our wheat over at the top with field 22 and the grass field up there as well. Might even possibly combine those into an L-shaped field depending on weed placage up there as well. So thanks for watching. I'm Jim Bob and we'll be back with some more Deutz Fahrm very soon.